Paula, could you just send that email back to me with the link in it? You found the email that was sent out? Yes. I think I found it. Hello everyone, I make it 7:30, 18 people on board, and I hope that you can hear me. I've just done a little sound check by tapping the microphone, so I'm sorry if you got a bit of a shock. And what I'll do is I'll just switch a light on so as to make me slightly brighter. There we go. How are you all doing? I hope you're all well. Obviously, you can't answer me back, but we will go to the Zoom meeting afterwards. We've got 22 people on board now, so I'm just going to give a little bit of extra time for one or two people. I'm hoping that we get more than 22 people for this. Oh, you can hear me. This is very, very good. And don't forget to use now. So what you'll have noticed is that on the right-hand side of the screen there is this live chat thing. So if there's any technical issues that you're having, please tap something in. I appreciate that today's rehearsal is going out under the auspices of Chantry Singers. I'm sorry about that. That is because, not that there's anything wrong with Chantry Singers, of course, but that is because we had a slight technical issue in that when you subscribe to YouTube to create a new channel, it takes 24 hours for it to go online. So there's nothing you can do about it before then. But we've got 28 people. So we're 29 people. Hello. So they're all joining up. And Paula's on as well. Paula's one of the 29, though. Are you signed in? Oh, you're not on. Oh, right. Okay. Because actually, well, no. Actually, it would be marvelous if you didn't, because that would use up our very limited bandwidth in this place. 34 people. It's beginning to fill up nicely, so that we can start a rehearsal pretty soon. I do hope that you've got yourself in a position where you can see your screen and where you can stand to see your screen. It's quite important. Please don't sit down in a sofa with a glass of wine or a cup of coffee and think, okay, well, this virtual business, this is a walk in the park. We can just stand here or sit here and slowly get sozzled. My glamorous assistant is here. She will be just standing slightly off camera angle so as to spare any blushes. Claire Thomas, hi. Sourdough with Esther, hi. Sourdough. 35 people and a thumbs up. How lovely. I haven't done anything yet. This is fantastic. So we will start. Let's start by shaking out our hands, okay? Because singing after a day at work is one thing, and singing after 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. How long has it been? It's been 4 weeks, hasn't it? 17th of March. We're there into April now. 17th was the lockdown. So not singing for that amount of time can leave everything and just a little settled. And so get up. And I would like you to do this nice balletic movement. Now, you won't be able to see me because I'm on broadcasting. I am wearing trousers, I promise you. But shut up. But what I'd like you to do is to just bend down. Now, I think it's called a plie, isn't it, in ballet? And then raise yourself back up again. Yeah, you too, Paula. Come on. Stop slacking, okay? You can just do that again. It's a really useful way of making sure that your body's in alignment, because you can't do that whilst leaning forward. So at least you can. You end up looking a bit like a gorilla. So down we go and up we come. And when you come back up, just make sure your knees are not locked, okay? That you have straightened yourself up until you are almost straight, but not quite. And rock forwards onto your toes and then back onto your heels. And then feel somewhere near 50-50 weight distribution so that you are fully in alignment. And think heels, hips, shoulders, ears. Those should be more or less in a straight line, okay? Quite a few people, when they are singing, there's a lot about posture. Quite a few people, when I ask a singing pupil, where do you feel your head connects to your neck? They will generally say, well, I mean, think about that for a moment and think about what your answer would be. And quiet if you've studied the physiology of it. Because most people would claim that their head attaches to their neck round here. And they would most people generally point to the back of the neck and the back of the skull. And they feel that that is where the alignment happens. That's where the connection happens. But it doesn't. If you look at a skeleton, the skull is actually balanced more or less on top of the spine. And the spine isn't here, is it? That's the back of your neck. The spine is right in here, and it goes up to more or less where your ears are. That's the pivotal point. And so our whole thought about where our head connects to the body is a lot like that. Whereas where it is actually connected is an awful lot more like that. I may be leaning back slightly, but my ears need to feel like they're above my shoulders. And that is a quite important point, because if I speak to you with my head like that, you can immediately hear that the sound's starting to come out of my nose and stands a little bit strained. Whereas if I bring my head back, everything just evens itself out. It also makes sense from the point of view that if your head's here, all of these muscles, you can see these tendons starting to strain. All of these muscles here are being used to keep your head up. Whereas if your head's balanced on top of your spine, easily and gently like that, you don't need to do any holding up because the head is already balanced there on top of the neck. So just gently make sure that your neck is back, and I'd like you to look around to the left and lean over and feel that that's stretching here. You can just feel the gentle stretch of this set of muscles here. Okay, and then we've got the numbers seem to be doing a little dance. We seem to have somebody who keeps logging on and then logging back off again. Maybe he decided or she decided that they don't want to be taking part in this after all. Reaching around to your right-hand side, over to the right, and then just gently round like that so that you can feel this band of muscles stretching here. And now rock forward so you're looking down at your toes. My toes have been painted alternate colours by Lily.
And your nails.
Oh yes, and my hands. You should see that. This is the problem that one encounters when one has an 11-year-old daughter at home. Only I did consider if I can't get them painted during lockdown, when I can't leave the house and I can't go and do any work, when can I do it? And I think it was one of the committee actually for this choir, pointed out to me that not having them painted at all was an option. But I thought, I don't see much of that. I don't see much point in that. And now we're going to take a gentle breath in. Now, please make sure that when you take your breath in, our 37th guest has managed to log on, but then they've gone again. It's extraordinary. Maybe they're struggling with traffic. Right. Keep your shoulders nice and low. Imagine that you're holding a dumbbell in each hand, which is pulling your arms down, so that when you take a breath, this stays here. It doesn't go like that. It was brought to my attention, or at least it came to my attention, that as a conductor, when I try to get a choir to come in, I do a very unhelpful gesture. I do this. And that often makes everybody think, whereas in fact you should be thinking a low thought. So in general, for this rehearsal and for this practice session, I'm going to be giving a gesture like that to indicate the breath in, because you should be feeling that your tummy is expanding when you breathe in. and that you're gently squeezing those muscles in much the same way as you would whilst doing a sit-up, or whilst being sick into a bucket, or all sorts of unnecessarily unmentionable things as well. That's the kind of squeeze that we need. And so probably having a rehearsal immediately after dinner is not such a good idea. Mental note, light snack before the next meal rather than the roast duck with all the trimmings. Okay, and we're going to put one hand there and feel your lower abdomen getting larger as you breathe in, and feeling it getting smaller and smaller and smaller as you're breathing out. And push that air against an F until you've got nothing left. Now, what I'd like you to do is to make sure, 41, we've got 41 people. What I'd like you to do is to make sure that when you take that breath and you push the breath out, that you do not constrict your throat as you get to the end of it. It's all your tummy that's doing the work. And you need to feel that this is just staying nice and open in a feeling of a slight yawn. So can we try that one more time? We're going to take a breath in gently from our tummy, feeling our tummy's getting fatter. And then push all the air out, all the air out, all the air out. You should feel a little bit of muscle strain. Push, 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 push. But keep the throat nice and open. Think a yawn and relax. And when you relax, you automatically end up breathing in. You don't need to think about that. This is an interesting point. When you've been breathing ever since you were born, I see our pet cat when she falls asleep, and her lower abdomen breathing is working very nicely, thank you, and no one's explained it to her ever. So that's something that's just happening naturally. The problem is, as soon as we start thinking about it, we utilize a whole different set of muscles. Why in life do we ever need to think about taking a big breath in? Well, it's usually if we've had a shock and we suddenly need to fill all the cells with oxygen, or it's if we desperately need to take a breath and in which case we gasp. And both of those breaths are what I'm going to call active breaths. They're breaths that you deliberately think about doing. But unfortunately, having activated all your muscles on the breath in, there's very little room for them to maneuver during the breath out. And as we've seen, these lower muscles here need to do all the work on the breath out. If they are already activated when you've breathed in, there's nowhere for them to go. So you take the breath in, my tummy muscles are now tense. So if I tense them further, there's only a certain way I can go before I run out. Okay, and it's not breath that I'm running out of, it's actually muscle power down here. Your lungs will still have some breath in them, even when you think you're completely empty. They just won't move any further. So build up these muscles and you'll be able to breathe out and sing on a slightly more sustained phrase. Let's do this one more time, but this time I'd like you to produce a sound on a v, and it doesn't matter what pitch. I'm not going to be a pitch. I was going to say a pitch Nazi now, but I mean, you know, I'm not going to be too deliberate about pitch yet. That can come later. So we're going to take a breath in and release a sound like this. And see if you can get towards the end of your breath when you get to the bottom of your range. Ready? A gentle breath in. Here we go. And then hold it just for a second and then relax. So at the end of each of one of these, just hold the muscles in that breathed out position without constricting here, and then breathe in. And you'll notice that the breath happens automatically as a relaxation. Let's try it one more time. And this time I'd like you to start on a slightly higher pitch than the last one you did. Ready? Here's the breath in. Nothing left. Excellent. Then relax on the breath in. And we'll do one more. And this time I'd like you to start the way you just have. But halfway through, well, not halfway through, after about a second, we're going to do a second pulse. So it's and feel that pulse has happened from your tummy muscles. A little gentle squeeze, as if you're doing another sit-up or being sick into another bucket or trying to blow out a candle. That's the other one that we can use when we're being delicate. Here we go. A breath in and relax. Good, excellent. And so now we can start adding in some pitching to that. And I'd like to start with where I normally do, which is a nice B flat major chord. My piano tuner. Paula's getting sick of all these jokes because she heard them all yesterday. My piano tuner was due to come on Wednesday of the lockout, Wednesday the 18th. And obviously he didn't show. And I then had to phone him up and said, are you not coming round anymore then? And he said, no. And I said, why not? You're a key worker. Here's your B flat chord. And so we'd like to start again on a V sound, and please make sure that there's plenty of breath flow. Lots of people, when they start singing these exercises, start making sounds like this. Like a wordless hum. And it's actually a toneless hum. That's not what I want to hear. I'm not going to hear anything, but that's not what I want you to hear or experience. I'd like you to experience this together with the sound. Okay, so we're going to do that octave. Ready? 1, 2. Lovely. And all the while making sure that your head is nice and central on the top of your neck and not getting intense in any way or feeling that you're pushing the sound forwards, okay? So keep it there, and it might be just worth your while dropping a hand here onto that chin and make sure that it's not sticking out or not pushing forwards, okay? So let's try that again. Here's another breath, and we're going up a semitone. 1, 2. Good, and push right through to the end until it's just gently starting to hurt. Okay, upper semitone. 1 and 2. And relax. Upper semitone. 1, 2. Good. I always forget where we are here. Basses and altos. You might still be able to make this one. This one's an E. But after that, you're going to start struggling, unless, of course, you're not really altos and not really basses, in which case you should be somewhere else. But here we go. Here's an E. Let's try this one all together. Ready? Breath. Hit from down here. Ready? And 1. Yeah, Paula's definitely an alto because she didn't quite make that and she ended up slightly flat. So now into just the sopranos and tenors. Altos and basses, you can just sit down or get some cards out or make a cup of tea. Actually, you haven't got time to make a cup of tea, so just sit down. Sopranos and tenors, though, this is just for you. Here it is. Here's an E. 1 and good. Paula's making a point now. Ready? And 1. Good. Okay. And this is taking us to an F sharp. And one last. Make sure there's plenty of F in that sound. Good. Excellent. Well done. I assume, I'm going to assume that you're doing well and that it's all working exactly as I've described it. Good, because I've got very little option. Okay, now we're going to go back down to here. We're going to sing my favourite vowel, which is an E. E. Okay, so realign yourself. Just go up on tiptoes again, back down to heels, and make sure that and if you can just flex both legs. So you can't see what I'm doing there. I'm just doing this. Okay, just wiggling my hips about in my knees. Okay, just to make sure that neither of them is locked. Okay, and we're now going to sing. Remembering that your jaw wants to be just pivoting this way, not gripping. Okay, I like to describe it as the sleeping grandfather position. It's actually my father that used to do this. At about 4 o'clock in every afternoon, I used to come into the living room and my father would be asleep in front of the telly with his jaw like this. That's roughly where you want to be. Here we go. 1. I didn't say anything about the octave, did I? No, I just want you to do the 5th. Ready? And 1, 2. Good. Okay. Still keep this feeling of the breath coming in from here. Always, I'm going to be going back to these fundamental principles because you're stuck on your own, so I won't be able to spot whether you're doing it or not. But it's worthwhile mentioning. I certainly need constant reminding. So if I need reminding, I think you probably do as well. I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry to tar you all with the same brush. I'm generalizing. Everybody generalizes. Here we go. E, breath in. E, opposite meter. 1, 2. E, up one more, and E, and one more. Keeping that chin tucked in, and one more, and so what you might notice, I'm sorry, that's not because of Paula singing, that was because a little buzz set up in my ear, and it may well do it in yours as well. If you are doing this accurately and well, you will be finding quite a lot of buzzing going on in your head, especially if you are enabling the jaw to relax a little bit more as you're going through. Please don't think that an E vowel sound equates with that position there. E, that's always going to be very tight and never ever able to produce a lot of volume. E, so it's the jaw tucked in and my tongue is sort of doing this shape. Here are my bottom front teeth. There are my gums. And my tongue is coming in and touching there on that ridge where all the plaque built up between you and me. There. Right? There. And is rising up like this. That gives my jaw a nice relaxed position, but also makes the narrowness back here to produce an E vowel sound. And I've described this with other people, and it does work, I promise you. If you take a pencil that is certified COVID-19 free, wipe it off on some Dettol wipes, and then rinse it under a tap, because that'll be disgusting. And then if you pop that into your mouth, now, I don't know if you can see that, but it's not touching any of my teeth. It is being balanced between this bit here is touching the roof of my mouth, and this bit here is being pushed on my tongue. It puts my mouth into the perfect position for an E vowel sound. So it's worth trying and seeing whether your mouth is actually doing that, or whether you are thinking one thing when we're talking about it, and then doing something else when it comes to it. Okay, now we're going to break from E into E and eventually R. So we're going to go back down here and sing E, and each of those requires progressively a little bit more opening here, but only a bit. Please don't overdo the opening just yet. E, 1, 2. Try and make sure that E and air are coming from more or less the same place in your voice. Feel that they are right up here and that there's lots of buzz about both of them. E, semitone up, and 1, 2. Upper semitone. Now we started these exercises by doing lots of sounds. Why is that? Why am I so obsessed with the sound and the noise? Well, the answer is a very simple one. It's 2 words, and it's called the velopharyngeal port, okay, which is the gap that enables you to channel your breath either out of your mouth or out of your nose. It's the little closure that happens about here. It's at the back. It's behind the soft palate. It's just behind where your uvula dangles or hangs. I nearly said something very embarrassing there. And that is something that we don't have. We have control over it, but we don't get much feedback from it. There are not many nerve endings back there, so we're not altogether certain all the time what it's doing. But it's something that we need to focus on a little bit. And by singing V, you can only do that if your velopharyngeal port, which I'm going to call the V port for short, is closed. V. You can only blow up a balloon if it's closed. And you might actually have experience of blowing up a balloon and then suddenly going and air forcing itself out of your nose because your V port wasn't quite ready for it. Well, when we're singing, especially through an open mouth, we want to make sure our V port is shut most of the time. There are occasional here we go. My glamorous assistant is going to demonstrate the closure of the V port here by right, here we go. V port shut. Oh my God, that was disgusting. Thank you. So the V port needs to be shut, even when you are opening on 2 open vowels. So please do try and make sure that that's the case. And not often, when I hear it not happening with a singing pupil, I will ask them to go on to starting each note with an F. It automatically cures the problem. Either that or a really energetic P. Pa, pa, pa. Has to have a closed nose, closed V port. Fa, fa, fa. What we don't want to do, and this is why I get slightly upset when I see singing teachers and singers always characterized by this cliche of singing me, 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 me. Because if you sing me, 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 your V port's wide open and you're singing through your nose, basically. It's not a very good thing to do. Singing exercises that go me, me are designed to practice singing from an M with the V port open to singing E with the V port closed. It's quite an advanced exercise and not one that I'm going to recommend at the moment. So we will get onto that later. But for the moment, we're going back to E, E, So we're taking it up to about here. Yeah. And if you have any doubt that your V port is open instead of closed, just put a f at the beginning of each note. So fi, fe, fa. Ready? Let's try it. 1. Fi, fe, fa. Good. And if you are satisfied that that's the same sound you were making beforehand, get rid of the Fs and just concentrate on the vowel. E3. Yeah. Good. And the higher we go, the more open our jaw can become on the ah vowel sound. Always sound delighted and surprised when you go up for an ah, and not sort of da, or it's the sound of an accountant when they've hit a snag. Ah. We don't want to hear that. We want to hear the Italian ice cream seller who's just realized how they're going to double their profits. Ah, okay, on to the next one. And 1. Yeah. Up 1 more. And go. Yeah. Surprised and smiling. Just try and energize your face again. So remember what it feels like to smile. Okay, it's very easy to forget about that when nobody's seen you for a while. Up to there, 3 and yeah. And lastly, and this was the one that the altos and basses, this is your last one. Ready? 3. Yeah. Now the tenors and basses amongst you might have noticed that when you went to that top note, that one, that's the one we were on. There's a sort of little click happens in your voice because you're entering the passaggio, and this is a difficult area for tenors, particularly. Basses usually cop out at that point. E flat, I'm not going any higher than that. And altos should as well. Sopranos and altos, your break, as we know, is around the B flat, B natural area. So we can look at that eventually as well. Right, now that's enough vocal exercises for the moment. I feel that we should be warmed up. The sopranos, we will do a little bit of sirening, or you might like to do a bit of sirening higher up in your voice, but I'm not going to do that now because my neighbors are going to complain if we do that here. So there's just possibly just a little bit of on what we call lip bubbles. This is another very good one. Instead of going to make sure that there's enough breath flow and also that your V port is shut. What I'd like you to do now is, and where is it? There it is. Hopefully you will have received the email and have had access to a printer. Now, if you haven't got access to a printer, then I don't know quite what we're going to do. We might be able to post some music out to 1 or 2 people if they don't have access to a printer. So email us if you don't have access, and we're going to start with the Joseph Barnby Sweet and Low. Now, a number of you have been involved in the 9-barrow recording, and it's spectacular. I'm itching to share the performance with you. It sounds amazing, and it sounds amazing on the basis of the blend of voices that John managed to produce on his home system, his home recording system. He has now sent those recordings off to his producer, who is currently in the process of making them sound even better. There's no tidying up of the vocal entries. They were all just overlaid, and those people that contributed did a fantastic job of singing together, of starting together, finishing together, and you did a fantastic job of singing in tune. I have to say, I originally, I was somewhat trepidatious, and I wanted to hear everybody's recording before sending them through to John, because I was slightly concerned that they wouldn't be up to scratch. I had to record a short extract from a hymn for St Paul's Cathedral for the Easter services, and I was horrified by the results when I did my first take. I listened back to it and I thought, I do this for a living. This is awful. The good news is that this happens to everybody. The bad news is that is actually what you sound like, and so I had to spend about an hour warming myself up just to be able to sing the tenor part for a simple hymn that I usually sing in procession anyway. Also, we become hyper critical of ourselves when we're on our own. When we're singing together with a choir, of course, our voices are blending in with all the other people, and it makes it slightly more enjoyable, which is, I suppose, why we do it. Anyway, Sweet and Low is our follow-up. What I'd like to do is to teach it all to you, that you can take it away, and then in the next couple of weeks, I'll encourage you all to do exactly the same thing that we did with the 9-barrow. You'll be provided with a backing track with me counting, or possibly even a video. A number of you mentioned, and you were very kind. And I've noticed who they are, so, no favoritism. But a number of you said that you missed the conductor, and that this made it a little bit difficult. So maybe I'll do a video and try to be helpful. Anyway, Sweet and Low. Let's have a little look at it, and you can now have a go at sight reading your parts while I hack my way through on the piano in an almost comedic. What was his name? I've forgotten the name of the comedian. Not Des O'Connor. Oh, come on, Les Dawson. That's who I mean. Les Dawson always used to do hilarious misplayings of piano pieces. Mine are not planned in any way. So here we go, Sweet and Low. We will start from the beginning, and here is your opening chord. And I've just chucked a whole load of music on the floor. What was that? Oh no, that's something else. So here it is. Here's a C for the basses, and here's an E for the tenors, and here's an E for the altos, and also for the sopranos. And we will take it off in 6/8, so it's quite slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And sweet and low, eyes of us, 1, 2, 3. Pause. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, my fault. Nice chord, which we will pause on. When we're all singing this together, this will be a beautiful chord to sustain there. And 1, 2, 3. One, two, three, 4, 5. Off. Lovely. Let's just take it up as far as there. Okay, so what I'd like to do now, sopranos and altos, you can take yourselves off and just make a little a cup of tea or a sandwich or something while we just sing through that with the basses and tenors only who are in attendance. And if there aren't any of you there, well, I'm just broadcasting to the ether, aren't I? Here we are from the beginning again, just the tenor and bass part. 1. So here are your bass parts, and here's your tenors. And 1, 2, 3. Sweet and low, sweet and low, wind of the night. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Oh dear. Right, we'll start that again. It suddenly occurred to me that while we're doing this, of course, if you are a competent sight reader, you could be singing along to this anyway, and you'll have 2/3 of the harmony ready for you. But Paula, please don't do that because it will confuse the tenors and basses, even more so than my misplaying of it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sweet and low, sweet and low, wind of the mercy sea. 2, 3. Oh, Lord, breathe and blow. 1, 2, 3. Is the chromatic chord. And so tenors, I'm not casting any aspersions here by warning you just gently to make sure that at the end of the 4th bar of page 2 that you sustain the B flat. It's very easy to get into the habit of thinking that that descending chromatic scale is just going to carry on. So, while my little one, while my pretty one sleeps, you may want to do that, okay? Please don't. While my pretty one sleeps. And the danger zone for the basses is around bar 14, where you've sung a blow again to me. Make sure that that's diminuendoed and that you're nicely in tune on that E vowel sound, which we've just been talking about. Jaw nice and loose, E produced fat here, and that F sharp needs to come into to its own with the rest of that chord, which is there. And then there was another little moment. Yes, it's at the end of the first line of the whole piece on page 1, where you have breathe and blow, with the tenors there and the basses there. That sort of clash, very effective, but it can often just set you astray. Sopranos and altos, can we have you back, please? Oh, somebody's written so exciting, which is great. I can't read, writing's too small. Grab a tablet. Yes, I probably will. Is that advice to me? No, right, okay, good. I'll take some paracetamol later on, believe me. Here we go, sopranos and altos. We're starting with the E that you're on, okay? And so here we are. Ready? And 1, 2, 3. So that's not what you're expecting, especially since the altos then dip underneath where the tenors are. So let's just take it from there. It's useful my having an alto who's a reasonably good sight reader, but just occasionally falls into the traps on the most difficult bits, because it just reminds me of what the difficult bits are. Here we go, 13. No, I'm going to be in so much trouble later on, ladies and gentlemen, so much trouble. Ready? Low bar 13, 1, 2, 3. All on that A, and now that's it. 1, 2, 3. Lovely. Let's just hear that then. So when you get to the third bar, it's, I don't know, it looks a little difficult maybe to watch where all the rhythms are, but your crotchets are always 2 of those little pulses, aren't they? Because we're in 6/8. Now, ladies and gentlemen, all of these things that I say over and over, I'm going to move you back here. All of these things that I say over and over and over again to, you know, just make life easy for musicians, can sometimes be a little confusing. When I say, oh, well, look, it's in 6/8, that's a compound time signature. That can confuse some people, and it can put some people off the idea that reading music is somehow something that they've missed the boat on. And it needn't be the case. And so let's look at this term where we've lost the opportunity to do our big concert. We've lost the opportunity to do our last concert, but we've gained an opportunity. And let's not forget that. We've gained an opportunity to spend some time learning about what it is that makes music readable, but also what it is that makes music pretty blinking baffling in terms of the way it's written down. As I explain, and we will go over this in the next few weeks, and we will deal with one small section at a time, which I'll be preparing. It is blinking well baffling, a lot of it. It's a terrible, terrible system for writing down notes and fixing pitch, but it's the best one we've got. So we generally have to learn it. Okay, great. So watch out for that little corner there, sopranos and altos, and tenors and basses. I hope you've made your cup of tea and that you can drink it in a moment, or poured a Guinness. It was about the right time for a Guinness. I think I should be doing one of those later. Here it is. Can we take it with the altos from bar 15, While My Little One? So here's a C, and there's a G, and 1, 2, 3. Okay, excellent. Let's put everybody together. Let's get the tenors and basses back online. Let's, I have to say, this is the second one of these that I've done. You can tell. I noticed that this choir is very much more reticent in terms of writing stuff down in the live chat. Oh, I see you're all on WhatsApp. I see. I see. Right. So what's going on? No, am I supposed to read this? I can't see it. It's a blank screen. But it would be helpful if you could just write down a couple of pointers. It'd be nice if any tenor could write down that you're there, so that I know that there are some tenors. It'd be nice if I could just have a chat or a message from any basses, just so that I know that you've got some there. We've got 41 people, but those could all be sopranos, as we well know. Okay, everybody together, please. Ready? Here's a C, there's a G, here's an E. And let's sing that. Actually, I tell you what we could do is that we could go into the second verse, couldn't we? From bar 19. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Sing and rest. Sing and rest. Okay, so Paula's not singing. Paula's a little lost. Can we try that again?
Sorry,
Here we go. No, she wasn't concentrating, was she? I know.
Where are we?
It's like that in
Bar
there.
19.
We are starting at bar 19, ladies and gentlemen, on page 2, Bottom line. Bottom line. Ready? Here's basses. There's tenors. And there is the altos. I'm going to drop the screen down again just so that you can see what's going on. Ready? And 1, 2, 3. Good. Okay, so there's a slightly different rhythm there. Father will come to thee. Sorry, I beg your pardon. It's not like that at all. Father will come to thee soon. Can we take it from there? Father, basses, tenors, altos. 1, 2, 3. And 2, 3. I'll start that again. Bar 25. 1, 2, 3. Two and one, two, three. There you go. What a charming little piece, and a nice simple piece for us to get started on for this project. And now, of course, you don't just get to do the simple ones. You also have to do a slightly more complicated one, and that's what this one's about. Now, this Dayton, Ohio, I've been meaning to do this for ages. It's actually a a close harmony arrangement by Richard Rodney Bennett, but it was copied out, I think, from memory, because it's hello, the chat thing has gone lively. Oh, we've got a couple of people. Guest UK, Tenor here. Hello, Tenor. Guest UK, you're a guest. Be our guest. No, and Louise Shapley. This is brilliant. Oh, I'm glad you think so. It feels as though we're all singing together. Yes, I know. With this apart, with this all over the place, we're in one room. Okay, so Dayton, Ohio, 1903. It's a beautiful little song. I do have a backing track, which I was going to play you over the miracle that is the interweb. But unfortunately, the settings that I had set up last night to do this, in fact, about 5 minutes before we went on air, nothing was working. I couldn't believe it, having set it all up the previous day and everything was working beautifully. So I can't get digital music to play from my laptop on the YouTube stream today, but I'm hoping to figure out how we will be able to do that next time. So, Dayton, Ohio, let's have a quick look at it. And we're going to have to take this one part at a time. So let's take it with the sopranos and altos now, starting at the beginning, and with gentle, sophisticated, cool is about this speed. Sing a song of long ago when things were green and moving slow. So each crotchet lasts about that long. Okay, so here we are. Okay, and it's a little bit higher than that. Sorry, I beg your pardon. So altos, sopranos. Let's give it a go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. beautiful. That's sounding fantastic. I mean, you know, I'm going to spend the entire time talking about how nice my wife sings, aren't I? There we are. I'm sure you're all doing marvellously at home. Right, here we go. Basses. Now, it says at the top, 2 quavers equals, and then it's got a triplet, crotchet and quaver. Now, that may confuse people. All it means is this. Every time you see 2 quavers next to each other, we swing the rhythm slightly. So it's the beginning is not do do do. Sorry, do ba do do. It's 1 do ba do do. And here it is. Basses, first basses. Any first basses, please do sing that first bar as well. So you sing do ba do do do. Second bass is going down there. And tenors, can you join us on that note there? D. Ready? 2, 3, 4, 1. Do ba do. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Off. Okay, let's put that together. Sopranos and altos rejoin us. Basses starting there and going down to there. And your first note, altos, is so everybody is singing a nice B flat major chord, which sounds like this. Apart from the altos, who are the they're the colour, they're the purple in the harmony. There it is. So with that chord, with that A, suddenly it becomes magic. It becomes 1903 and Randy Newman. Off we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, ba, do. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Good. And we will do a gentle slowing off at that point and a really gently diminuendo to almost nothing. But we carry on. Here it is. Sopranos and altos. Let's carry on with you. So it's a D and an F. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1903. That's it. 1903. And can we please make sure that whenever you've got just 4 crotchets in a row, that you don't just sing do, 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 but do, 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 do. We're into summer programming, okay? So ooh, vowel sound. There are many, many different ways of singing that. And the one I'd like is do, 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 rather than do, do. Tenors and basses. Let's hear you, please, from Would You Like? This is the last 2 notes of page 1, going into page 2, and we're going to go to a Zoom meeting. I hope you've all got your wine chilled. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Would you like to come over for tea? With the Mrs. It's a very nice way to spend the day, taking on a lazy sunny afternoon in 1903. That's the tune. Tenors, I've given you the tune this time. Okay? Right, everybody try that chorus. Here we go. Would, basses, First spaces. So first spaces, you've just got to make sure that this happens. Please remember that it's do, he. This is terribly important. Ready? Do, would you, altos, sopranos. So we're going straight in on page 2 with the 2 upbeat notes. 1, 2, 3. Would you like to come over for tea with the missus and me? It's a lovely way to spend the day and keeping our heart on a sunny summer's afternoon, reminding us. So please practice that. I will send off a sound file with a more accurate rendition than the one I just gave you. And in 5 minutes, that's it, 8:30. In 5 minutes, I will be on Zoom, and we'll see how many people turn up. All right. Bye.